Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. Yay, testing. This is RHJunior, RHJunior. Check coming to you live over the internet by way of YouTube. And leaving some dead air between. Screw it. It's split waisons, you people! You haven't figured that out yet. Noise. Everything's crapping out now, man. It's just nasty sound quality there. I don't know what that's all about. Just click this, so it shuffles, and we go over to live chat and see nobody's here yet because I haven't invited anyone. This is my life. This is it, you know. I do this randomly. I may be on a fairly short time. I may be on a very, very, very short time. I'm just... Okay, it's hot. It's hot. And it's stuffy. And we're not supposed to get rain until tomorrow. And I am tired. My legs are hurting. Swelling my legs is giving me pain. And I'm hungry. I'm seriously. But right now, my fridge, the cupboard's not just right now. Let's see. I've got soup. I've got ramen noodles. And well, basically, my fundamental malfunction is that I'm trying to figure out something that nourishing but won't tear up my insides. I had some cans of tuna fish. It's just I can't think of anything that just. I don't know. I'll be honest. Grocery shopping is tomorrow, but today I'm, when my EBT card goes through at midnight, that's, and get groceries tomorrow. Restock everything. The milk and bread and eggs and butter and all the other stuff. Ketchup. Bachelor without ketchup is in serious trouble. But I mean, I make bread. I couldn't make nothing to make sandwiches with anyway. I think I have some hot dog buns in the freezer. But no hot dogs. I'm trying to figure out something that isn't going to take a half hour to cook, and give me a heat stroke in the kitchen, or that isn't going to tear up my insides when I eat it. Most of the stuff, most of the recipes I know are just really stuff, that you make for more than one person. Actually, come to think of it, but. I got cans, I've got, I'm getting down to the survival rations kind of thing. And, breakfast, let me put it this way. My breakfast today was some sliced apple, some butter, and some frozen French fries. With the French fries. So, I'm not starving. I'm hungry, but I'm not starving. And I'm just sort of, I'm running low on the basic well, I'm out of a lot of the basic staples. I'm out of milk, out of bread, out of ketchup. There's my refrigerator. You open up. There's like some frozen, frozen raw chicken and some frozen raw hamburger up in the freezer. And you open up the refrigerator, and basically it's just a door full of condiments. I've got chocolate syrup. I could have some of that. Num num. Num. I've got ramen noodles, but I eat those. I'll regret it quite quick. Let me switch that over. Switching over to random screensaver stuff. There we go. If you would like to make a donation to this artist and his efforts, please just simply go to www.rhjunior.com and hit the PayPal button. I'm sitting here. I've got $3 in the bank. I'm trying to figure out how to turn $3 into $10 for a pizza. That's what I'm thinking like. But seriously, I'm trying. Just out of energy. Just tired, hungry, legs hurting, and I'm hungry, but I just can't muster the energy to go in and fix up something that's only going to make me feel bloated and heartburny. Because, so I got to decide. I'm just going to sit here and go hungry. And hope maybe, some money will drift in my general direction by osmosis or something, I suppose. I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled. I've gotten used to having food that's ready to eat. Stuff that you can put in a microwave or a toaster oven, and it's a double meal. I'm trying to be all self-disciplined and everything, and just, cook your own food, save money, and it's, my repertoire and ingredients are currently kind of limited. And I've noticed that whenever I eat something I cook myself, I'm in for some really interesting gastronomic surprises later. I got Rice Krispies, but I got no milk. Sitting here trying to think if I can make Rice Krispie treats with no marshmallows or milk or butter. I think I have margarine. I think. Yeah. No. Couldn't do it. I'm bad at making Rice Krispie treats. I have never, I have never before tasted Rice Krispie treats that were chewy until I made them, or until I tried to make them here in my own kitchen. I mean, it was like, even the cereal was chewy. I don't know what the heck I did wrong. I followed that recipe, to the letter. But it was like, ate it anyway. I'm out of sugar. I'm pretty much out of, I'm seriously, getting, getting down to the beans and canned soup kind of deal here. If I eat either of those, I'll regret it. I don't know, maybe I'll just fix it. Maybe make some tomato soup. I don't know. I'm myself that I'm hungry enough to actually subject myself to my own cooking and cobble together something I've currently got in my kitchen. Lazy and spoiled, I suppose. Or I'm also a bad cook. And I'm short on ingredients, so well, there you go. I don't know what to think of myself anymore, I really don't. There is nothing I don't know what it is. I have definitely got my computer, my encoder set on 4 keyframes per second. Or rather a keyframe of 4 seconds or less. But what I'm getting here is it says it's getting them every 8 seconds. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong? Hello, Anthrazil. Hello, Cartoon Glutton. And I make 3. We got 3 people in channel. Us. Hey! Okay, here. I need to eat something. That's what I need. I'm just no energy. And I realize I haven't not since this morning. And this morning. Anthrazil, what are you talking about? Manage. What do you mean by that? What are you referencing? What are you referencing? What is the meme which you are trying to influence us with? I don't know what I find so fascinating about this particular animation, the pulsing heart. That one that was just up there is just very fascinating. Hello, Archangel. I don't know what's wrong with the meters on these things, I swear. It says 3 people. There's 3 people, but when I'm in here, it says, it isn't keeping count properly. Let's just leave it at that. I don't know what to talk about. I came on here to try and motivate myself, but it's not working. I tried to make some tea here, you know, with like tea bags and honey. The honey isn't really dissolving and tastes like, well, it's like dirty water. Manage, manage, manage. I don't know what who, me? I don't know nothing. You know, I do not understand reference. But anyway. Keep open, wild wired weasel with the doggone him picking it. I swear he's you know, wild wired weasel who made his commission. A guy who will name himself something like that. Same kind of mind that would spell lisp with an S and a P. I have a wisp. You have a what? It's just like that word you made. I have a wisp. You have a what? Oh, you son of a bee. I don't know what the darn thing he's doing. God, my leg hurts. My leg basically decided today was a good day to just crap out on me. And my right leg is hurting. With my condition, fluid pools in my legs swells them up. Right now, my legs are already enormous. I mean, you would look at this and go, "Oh my God!" You know that. You know, I mean, seriously. Oh dang! What is it? Music? It's what the hell? Come up with this crap. Headbanger music in the background. Crime on mentally. Apparently, you know, sitting up too long, and my legs have swelled. You know, I guess the tissues in my legs are giving way, and they burn and hurt. It's kind of a drag, to say the least. Tired of all this crapola. You heard the latest from Google. You heard the latest from Google. Some dude He passed out a memo, multiple page memo. He basically detailed. He basically said, to somebody that the whole PC quota hiring thing that Google was doing was wrecking the company. And he said, they haven't been hiring. They've been hiring by ideology, and the women they were getting are just hypersensitive. And he said, the women that are getting, are showing, hypersensitive and emotional, and but anyway, the feminists, of course, rallied together and saved that it got the poor guy fired. For saying, God forbid, the truth. And they were, quote, so angry and upset by him saying that they were, emotional and irrational, and that women generally didn't tend towards, and so on and so forth, because he's, He said they were emotional and irrational, and they were so angry from that they stayed home from work. They stayed home from work because their feelings were hurt so bad. I am just trembling with rage. My hands are shaking. I can't even, And I'm like, gee, ladies. He sure had you pegged wrong. Just makes me mad. Makes me tired of this nonsense. Man, if I ran a company like that, it's a Fortune 500 company. It's a billion-dollar company. And these women, throwing temper tantrums because they aren't getting their way. And somebody says something that hurts their feelings, and I'm like, well, you sure showed him, I'd be like, just let him walk in. Oh, did what he say? Did his opinions hurt your feelings? Did they hurt your feelings? Man up and cope with it. I'm like, dang, woman, people said hurtful things to me. You work on the internet. You work on the internet. Put on a cup or get out, Now, I have respect for the suffragettes, the history, you look up the history. I'm not feminist. I never had any use for the feminist movement, no matter, the area. The 60s feminist movement was just as full of crap as it is today. Okay? Let's not kid ourselves. They were just as bat poo crazy back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s as they are today. It's just that now that they've weaseled their way in, and they can make people listen to them, no matter how bat poo crazy they are. Seriously. They were just as bug nuts as back in the 70s and 60s as they are today. And we laughed it off and we ignored them. And so they went out and, just climbed their way into power and wrecked everything. But the suffragettes, those ladies, the women who fought for the right for women to vote, They'd be ashamed of these loonies. Those women, those women had to put up with being arrested and being subjected to police brutality. When they several of them were locked up. There were cases they were locked up. They would hold, hunger strike, and the police and the cops would kind of force feed them. They had to deal with all sorts of abuse. These women don't know what oppression is. These women today, they don't know what it is. Women back in the 60s didn't know how good they had it either. All they do is bitch about how somebody triggered them. That's what we should round them up and just drop them in the middle of some third world Muslim country. After a couple of them are stoned, pick the survivors up and ask them, "Now, are you triggered now?" Nothing more disgusting. Anita Sarkeesian, the fraud, who was a central figurehead of the whole Gamergate controversy. Look it up if you want more details. Basically boils down to a woman getting a free ride for her crap game by gaming magazines, and it turns out that she got them by being real good friends with some of the editors. And when gamers called them on it, when people with more integrity called them on it, this is crap. You're supposed to be gaming reporter, not the PC patrol. And so the gamer magazines, their feminist and white knight editors went on the attack. They basically spent weeks, months, libeling and verbally attacking the gamer community. Bigot, racist, sexist, man-child, etc. Just every insult and anything they could think of. Well, Anita Sarkeesian, one of the central figures in the middle of the whole Gamergate controversy, her and another woman, I forget what the other one's name was, they got to speak in front of the United Nations about the struggles that women face in the industry. They have it so hard in the industry. And they're standing up there blubbering all over the microphone with money that they pilfered off of people on the internet just spilling out of their pockets. Meanwhile, the women from every third world armpit are standing there. Yeah, keep talking, honey. Woman with half her face burned off with acid because her father saw her walking down the street with a boy. Oh yeah. Oh yes, I never understood. I thought I was oppressed, Until this woman came along and informed me that the video game culture wasn't catering to her. How could I have been so blind? Just disgusting. Anytime any man God help any man that points out the elephant in the room. Like for instance, the reason that there aren't many women in STEM fields is because they don't take the courses. They go to college and take everything but. Couldn't possibly be because they have different interests. Because men are different from women. Couldn't be that, could it? One comic book critic on YouTube, he pointed out, you go look at these women on these women on like DeviantArt. And they'll be talking about how they just dying to break into the comic industry. But you look at their galleries. Their artwork, their portfolio. It's full of stuff that just would not be in a comic. Would not be in a superhero comic. Even while they're talking, everybody says, "Oh, you're such a," the pressure is, "Oh, you're such a good artist. You should break into the field, into the superhero comic book market." And they're not interested in that. You can tell that by the art they make. It's all pictures of girls and flowers, and it's not. You don't see women post, and romantic pictures, of course. But basically everything except scenes that you would see in a comic book. Two superheroes duking it out, that kind of thing. You do not see that in their galleries. But they're out there talking about how they want to break into the man's industry. No, you don't. Well, I'm sure you want to break into the man's industry. You want to break into the man's world, but you're not interested in what's there. And you're in for a hell of a disappointment. Are there women out there who are genuinely interested in doing superhero comics? I'm sure there are. Just as I'm sure that there are guys out there who are interested in writing for My Little Pony. Hint, hint, ha ha, ho ho, hee hee. But the majority of women who are being pushed into doing that, and into, they don't treat it like they don't treat it like they don't treat it like a franchise or an industry they want to break into. They treat it like a fortress they want to invade, or all these movies, disaster movies and monster movies and such. You'll see a bunch of idiots out there looting, even as the monster is stomping his way up Main Street, right? And they'll be looting everything, no matter how ridiculous. They'll be, just same mentality. They're breaking into it just to be breaking into it. They don't even want what's in there. But they'll kick down the doors and break the windows and climb in anyways. I'm here, And when they get in there, their stuff is crap. I mean, I haven't been, I can't exactly get to a comics store anymore. Not that there is one in this area. They're dying, can't imagine why. But I've seen some of the covers. I've seen some pages from the inside stories. The Squirrel Girl comic, Squirrel Girl, one of the most novel things that Marvel has done in decades, really. Basically, Squirrel Girl is a Silver Age superhero in the not so silver Marvel, Chrome Age, Iron Age Marvel world. And the running gag is that her power is she's got squirrel-like powers. She has claws in her fingertips and spikes in her knuckles, so she can climb like she has claws in her toes and fingertips and lets her climb like a squirrel. She has a squirrel tail. She has spikes in her knuckles and even a buck tooth, a retractable buck tooth she can gnaw through solid wood with. And she can talk to squirrels, and the squirrels will do anything she asks them to. And those are her powers, and she has taken on Doctor Doom, and she routinely kicks the backsides of some of the most sinister, grimdark, monstrous villains in the Marvel universe. It's her shtick. It's a running gag. Deadpool is terrified of her. She beat Thanos once. But she's supposed to be a fun character. But I've seen, and when a good artist gets her, she's generally a very cute character too. But I have seen the artwork for her own comic. She looks like she has Down syndrome. The art is horrible. It's drawn by some SJW who just can't draw down, but it's a feminist comic. Look, if your only justification for something is, but it has a VJJ, just stop. Put down the pen. Put down whatever you're working with. Just step away. You're liable to hurt yourself. You're mentally challenged. I saw a short clip by this one comedian, black man. I can't remember his name. And he shut down the women in his audience hard once. He was standing up there. He said, "Women, I got a question for you. Women, I got a question for you. How would you keep your man if you lost your vagina?" He's like, beyond the 7 or 8 weeks guilt of, the woman lost, she lost her vagina in this horrible traffic accident. I can't just leave her, guilt sticking out. How would you keep your man? And several of the women start yelling things in the audience. And God help me. One of them said, "We give them blowjobs." I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's what they said. These women in the audience, we got blowjobs. And another one, anal. And he just like, yeah, blowjob. Booty sex. He said, isn't that interesting? You all just reduce yourself to a series of holes. And that is just what the modern feminist movement does. Why should we vote for Hillary Clinton? They couldn't name a real reason. And when confronted on her policies, they just backed down like they'd stepped in something nasty. But, oh, she's a woman. It's a time for a woman to be in the White House. We need a woman in the White House. Got to have women in the White House. Why? Why? Because she has a vajayjay. That's the only reason. I have this vision of them getting her elected, and some sort of clothing malfunction happens at the inauguration, and her pants fall, and they see she's got a block and tackle hanging down there. And every feminist head on the planet just simultaneously, all the rest was going, my eyes! But every feminist dead aneurysm in every part of their brain simultaneously. Lawn out in front of the White House looked like somebody been through a watermelon field with a snowblower. They didn't care the crime she committed, the evil things that she'd done, the horrible policies she advocated. They didn't care about any of that. All they cared about is that she had, technically, she's, she still had, she's 10,000 years old, but she's still got a vagina. She's morally superior to a man because she has nipples and tits. Am I offending people out there? Well, I'm sorry, but this is actually what they said. This is actually what they believed in. This is actually what they thought. And I'm, if you want to censor what I said, well, good for you. You protected your fragile, you protected your delicate shell-like ears from my dirty words, Oh no, the things the cartoonist said has warped my fragile little mind. Feminism has reduced women to just their genitalia. They don't have to be qualified for something. They don't even have to, they don't have to be qualified for something. They don't have to be smart enough to do something. They don't have to be ethical or reliable or trustworthy. They just have to be a female. They just have to have the right equipment. As long as she's not too good looking. Remember that, just can't have her too good looking. Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. That's one of the things that we feminists think about. That's all they seem to think about. They see these comics and they freak it out because the women on the cover isn't fat. Stupidest thing I saw. There's Valiant Comics. Valiant Comics. You poor, sad souls working in Valiant Comics, God have pity on you. They have one headline superheroine. Her name is Zephyr, and she is 400 pounds if she's an ounce. And she's not like, the Blob or Big Bertha from Marvel. Her powers are flight and apparently wind control or something. She's got, various superpowers. I don't know exactly. I didn't read the whole comic. I just saw the review, and and they showed the cover and the inside few pages, and I'm like, oh, geez. No, it's supposed to be, body positivity. It's, she's pro, fat self-esteem and all this crap. She's a pear with feet. She's fat, huge. But she's supposed to be a superhero running around saving people. Basic common sense here. She doesn't even have to diet and exercise. Anybody that spends their afternoons, or their nights, running around, getting in fights with supervillains and leaping from rooftop to rooftop is not gonna be a big, beautiful woman. She's not gonna be like that. You lead a lifestyle like that, you're gonna slim down. Unless it's your mutant power. But doggone. The whole premise is dang stupid. But God help any man that says, any woman that says this will be accused of being self-hating or of being blinded by the patriarchy. That's the marvelous opt-out. When everybody on the planet, even the people that allegedly are supposed to be on their side, tell them you're an asshole and you're a moron and you're wrong. And this is why. And they can just come back, oh, you have just been brainwashed by the patriarchy. That's the beauty of being one of the anointed. You were always right. If somebody else proves you are wrong, see the above. Therefore, anybody that disagrees with you has been brainwashed, or is just ignorant, or poor, and just unenlightened, or they're not woke. That's a new one. They can't be woken. They say, not woke like we are. Yeah. Convenient, don't you think? Sort of the same thing you get with evolutionists. The whole premise of intelligent design is that there is an intelligence outside of the normal parameters of the material universe. That created the universe. But atheists and evolution, they insist that if the evidence indicates something beyond the mere material universe, then it's wrong. Their equation is if true, then if true, then evolution. If false, then more evolution. Isn't it wonderful when you can declare the opposing viewpoint to be inadmissible, before the debate even starts? All you have to do is just call it, anti-science, not science. Because why? Because it disagrees with your presumptions. Perfect. But this is the reason. This is looking at humanity now. This is the reason that with Noah in the ark, God basically threw his hands up in the air and said, "Okay, Noah, get on the boat. We're getting rid of. We just wiping the board." That's the sad thing, because humanity, once it gets going down a certain road, there's just no pulling it back. You know, you can only do so much with people. There's a lot of people that they wake up and smell the coffee. Eventually, something bad enough happens, and it's a slap to the face. It's smell the coffee time. But at the same time, there are people. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people who watched the World Trade Centers fall. They watched it burn. And they still did not snap out of their delusion. There are millions of people that have watched the videos of Muslims beheading Christians, setting Christians on fire, burning them alive in a cage. That was alive. Drowning them in a pool. They filled it up with the ISIS, the Islamics. They filled a steel cage full of their prisoners, and then just dropped it in a swimming pool. There's footage of that on the internet, and people are still standing. But Islam is a religion of peace. These aren't real Muslims. And they can't read a history book. They can't read a frickin' history book. The very first Muslim was a murderer, a terrorist, and a rapist, and a child molester. The man married a girl who wasn't even 10 years old, and consummated his marriage with her when she was like 11. And contrary to what some people say, no, that was not normal. Not even back then. We're supposed to ignore that. And everybody conveniently ignores the fact that Muhammad, they preach this. Every Muslim devoutly believes this, or they wouldn't be Muslim. They believe that Muhammad was the ideal Muslim, and they should emulate him in every way possible. This is a man who, you know how he conquered Mecca? He came first claiming to be, we are poor refugees. We're peaceful. We come in peace. We'll live peacefully with you. Peace, 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 peace. And then when their numbers, a few years down the road, when their numbers had increased enough, they conquered Mecca from within. Does it sound familiar? Gee, I just don't know. They don't want to believe. You can't break through the concrete that's set in between their ears. Okay, Doug, that you ordered back in December. If you'll send me an email to rhjunior1@gmail.com and make sure to resend, also include a copy of your receipt, your PayPal receipt, so I can find it quicker. Ow. Kind of going ow. Because my legs hurt. I can't figure out how to set the time on this transition thing to speed up. I don't know. I'll just leave it like that. Whatever the heck. Oh, pain. Ow. That's no fun. For that, I have to frequently ask for to resend to the commission so I can double check them and update them and all that other crap. Ow, ow, ow! Sooner or later, it's going to catch up with them. You know, all this militant political correctness crap is going to catch up with them. They spend. I mean, look at Google. Google is going to go down. It is going to crash and burn hard, and do it within the next 5 to 10 years. That's my estimation, if even that long. They are spending all their time electing, hiring based on quotas and political correctness, and not hiring the people who are best for the job. They are going to crash and burn. Wolverine Golden Retriever Hybrid. Okay, I don't even remember that one. That was some time ago, apparently. I apologize for that. Wolverine Golden Retriever Hybrid. That's going to be an interesting picture. Okay. Put this over in commissions. Oakley dokley. Oh my. Ow. Kind of feeling under the weather, guys. Not exactly 100% perky at the moment. tastes like absolute crap. So much for using honey as crazy town out there in the world today. Now, there are a lot of people. You heard about the alt-right movement. The it's just the alt-right movement. By and large, is people that they're young, they're immature largely, and they go for provocation. And the left and the press must have just thought Santa Claus had arrived, because the alt-rightists aren't afraid to say things that get accusations of racism, or sexism, or anything else. In fact, they do it deliberately, just to annoy and outrage and provoke people. Now, whether or not you think that they're wrong for advocating white pride and white nationalism, and let's put it out on the table. They wouldn't be getting so many followers if the leftists in our society weren't doing their damnedest to prove everything they say right. The alt-rightists say that people are trying to wipe out white Anglo-Saxon Protestant heritage, religion, history, culture. And what are the conservatives, what are the liberals out there doing? Tearing down statues, burning magazines, declaring everything racist, attacking people physically. And when that fails, they go out and they lobby to get them fired or to have their businesses shut down. Our pop culture treats white males, white conservative, as which it does. And they hate on white people. You got people out there who are actively standing up in front of audiences of hundreds or thousands saying that the white race should be wiped out. And I'm not kidding. They use that exact phrase. The white race should be wiped out. That our identity as a race should be eradicated. And that, and they blame white people for everything. And they attack white people for everything. And they come out and it's just to be white, to be male, to be Christian, or even remotely Judeo-Christian, and to be conservative is to take your life into your own hand around some of these people. And they're out there. They have spent 50 years spewing hate at white people. And they are astonished, and they are outraged, and they're horrified when many of these white men start running into the alt-right community. I'm like, what did you expect? What did you expect? Because you're going out of your way to prove everything that even the most radical fringe white nationalist on the edge of the alt-right group says. And how dare they say the truth about what you You're up there and say the white race should be eradicated, and alt-rightists are over there saying they want to eradicate the white race. And excuse me if I don't see where they are distorting anything. Do I think that white people should rule over the rest of the races, or that other races should be oppressed or put into second-class citizen status or any of that other crap? No, I don't. Absolutely, of course not. Persons should be judged on their merits, their character, and their behavior, the content of their character, not the color of their skin or anything else related to it. But I find it very telling that even saying that you are white and proud of your heritage automatically labels you a Nazi. And they are astonished when people they have abused are willing being around and being Nazi. All they have, yeah, you could, they go over there. Those people are Nazis. Well, they called me a Nazi too, and all I did says I was proud of what European culture has accomplished. If you're black, you can say you got black pride. If you're gay, you can say you have gay pride. If you're women, you can have women's pride. You can have Asian pride and Chinese pride and Mexican pride. But if you're white, if you're European descent, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, God help you if you come directly from England. But if you come from Europe, if you're descended from God help you if you say you're proud of what your ancestors have done. And what a shock when they're not going to care about associating with people that you call Nazis when you spent years calling them Nazis. What are they going to care? And what pisses me off the most is the fact that whatever you think of alt-right activists and their beliefs and their policies and their rhetoric, the alt-rightists in Charlottesville, the alt-right groups in Charlottesville, they peacefully gathered to hold a rally. They had their permits, they had everything. They did it legally. They came together peacefully. Antifa showed up and started attacking them, beating them with bicycle chains, with locks clamped to the end, to make a nice club out of them, a lethal weapon. Hello. They sprayed them in the face with mace. In other words, they treated them like a Trump supporter. Violence of every stripe. They committed violence against these alt-right. And what does everybody do? They come out and they get mad because Trump doesn't condemn the victims loudly enough. I've been saying this that the way that minority groups in this country, groups like the KKK, couldn't ask for better press. Groups like the KKK and neo-Nazis and every other, even all the hate mongers out there, they ask for better press. And the KKK, they see these people wilding in the streets, and they just go, "See." And even the most peaceful conservative who wants nothing to do with racism of any sort, not the fascist racism of the neo-Nazis and the KKK, and not the condescending bigotry of the left, of the Democratic Party. They try and believe, a white man saying what Martin Luther King Jr. did is going to be accused of being a Nazi. That's the hysterical irony of it. White man standing up and said we should judge people by not by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And there'll be somebody standing there, "Shut up, Nazi!" Oh, big, newsflash. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican, card-carrying member of the Republican Party. There were several figures in, African American figures in the civil rights movement that were Republicans too. Martin Luther King Jr., card-carrying Republican. You don't hear about that now, do you? You don't hear about that. The Democrats fought against the Civil Rights Bill, and all the laws they passed. They fought against school integration. My God, I mean, Senator Byrd, Democrat for longer than any of us have been alive. Democrat congressman for longer than any of us have been alive. Right out of the Klan. Grand Kleagle of the Ku Klux Klan. You don't get up into the rank of Grand Kleagle by being out on the edge of the group. They found, they documented a letter he sent to a friend that he said, to an associate that said, "I would rather be trampled in the dirt than to see our military forces integrated." Does that tell you enough about what the leftists are for? Does that tell you what the Democrat Party is for? And, the ones that aren't outright they're just condescending smarm. "Oh, you poor benighted things. You need government care. You obviously can't raise your own children. You obviously can't, work for a living. You can't, have some handouts and lie in a nice hammock." Those condescending mothers are the ones that really destroyed the African American community. 100 years of the Klan couldn't do. A couple of decades of welfare handouts accomplished. No, I don't think that race should be removed from our dictionary. Not until people need to figure out. You don't have to tear somebody else down to lift yourself up. You're not hating on anybody else. It is not hatred against others when you take pride in your own family, in your own clan, in your own tribe. It's when you're so insecure that you think that you have to tear everybody else down to boost your own self-esteem. Like these people out here saying the white race should be wiped out. And I'm ashamed to be a white person, and the white race should be, blended out, or just crap like that. I don't apologize for being white. And in fact, I take pride in the fact that I come from a heritage that accomplished so much. You just look at European civilization. Look at America. It's, it was Christian society, and it was the white race that was the main of all. Historical fact, and about complaint. Oh, the people that the founding fathers were all just white, landowners, and what does that tell you? You can take two different messages away from that. Hello. People are uncomfortable when you point that out. Love thy neighbor as thyself. You can't love your neighbor as yourself if you hate yourself. And self-hate is what has been stuffed the throats of white children for decades. Guilt, shame, and blame for things that happened before their grandfathers were born. And the sad thing is that white people have been marinated in guilt for so long, they can't even say they're proud of their own race. They feel guilty and wicked for saying that they're proud of their heritage. The most they'll say is, well, I don't, well, I refuse to be ashamed. Oh, well, good for you. It's a real heroic stance there. You're not exactly, you're not exactly repulsed by being white. Well, I don't exactly want to peel off my skin to get rid of the evil whiteness, but What do you get from the black community? We was kings. They're convinced that because the pyramids are in the African continent, that Egypt was built by by black Africans. It wasn't. It was a much lighter skinned tribe that lived there. The darker skinned residents of Africa lived a little further south. And they're out there trying to rewrite history, trying to claim that great accomplishments that they never had. But a white man trying to reference what his own civilization accomplished? No, can't have that. If you're going to take pride in your heritage, take pride in the real one. Not one that you made up to cover up your low self-esteem over not having built a space shuttle recently. Feel free to disagree with me. I expect people to disagree with me. I expect people to yell and scream at me. Yes, there is a race. There are races. I'm sorry. It's more than it is more than just an arbitrary distinction. The bell curve prove that all averages out. All people that tried to claim there was no difference between men and women, despite the evidence of their own eyes. I remember how furious they got over the fact that people tried to claim there was a difference between men and women. It came down to this: the IQ between men and women is different. They both have the average IQ, but women tend to hover closer to median, while men, you get extreme highs. They both average out to the same C average, if you will, but that's a difference. You get extremely intelligent men. You get more extremes from men in IQ measurements, which is why you get an Albert Einstein, but it's also why the number one last words uttered by man are, "Hey y'all, watch this." And yes, I hate to break it to you, but there are some very substantial differences between the races and their aptitudes. If you will, the average athleticism you find in the people of African descent. It's not an accident that there are very few white people in the NBA. It is no accident that the greatest runners on Earth, and we're talking Olympic level, tend to come from places like Kenya. A more morbid man might point out that's largely because all the slow ones got eaten by the lions, but and of regions different from those of either of the other two races. Let's not kid ourselves, and that applies to all of them, physical and mental. Doesn't make them any better or any worse than anybody else. That doesn't make them any more or less important or valuable as human beings, but let's not kid ourselves. I'm sorry, the fact that the African American, those of African descent, tend to have better aptitudes in athletic endeavors is no more, saying that is no more racist than saying that white people tend to burn more in the sun. It's no more racist than saying a guy from Great Britain, you take a guy from South Africa and take one from Great Britain, and the guy from Great Britain is going to have a little more trouble maintaining his tan. It's no more racist than admitting that, sickle cell anemia is much more prominent in people of African descent. I keep wanting to call them African American, but not everybody from Africa is black, first of all, and not every and not every black person is from Africa either. And African Americans, I'm sorry, they're of African descent, but not a one of them's been in Africa in over 100 years. Give me a break. The first African American president, Obama, was not African American. He was not. He was half he was half white. People forget that. Oopsie. People also like to forget that he seemed to have real trouble handing over his birth certificate when the law required him to, and that he's had relatives back in Kenya that have said no, he wasn't born in America, he was born here. Blood relatives who nobody's heard of since. Can you catch the groove? Oh, my legs are killing me. It's like a burning sensation under the skin. Not I can do for it either. Lying back, feet raised doesn't really help. I'm running on an empty tank too. There's nothing wrong with saying that people are different. Different doesn't necessarily mean better or worse. There's nothing wrong with taking pride in your heritage. You're not tearing somebody else down when you hold yourself up to a higher standard. You can praise your ancestors without condemning somebody else's. And it's time we acknowledge that cultures are not all equal either. Cultures are not all equal. I'm sorry. There's a big difference between a culture that puts a man on the moon and one that puts a bone through your nose. Neither one is an accident. There's nothing wrong with saying, I kind of like my civilization. I like my culture, and I want to preserve it. And there are outside forces that are hostile to that desire, and I intend to stand athwart them. There's nothing racist about demanding that anybody that comes into your house comes through the front door. And that goes when they come into your country, too. Oh, have you heard the latest about Kim Jong-un, the incredible Chia dictator? I swear to God, doesn't anybody doesn't anybody ever point out, dude, your hair, seriously. You're presenting yourself as a god emperor, comb that crap. Just that hairstyle is just a jiffy pop. It doesn't say anything like dignity. But he backed down. What a surprise. Trump, the guy came out and said, I will nuke, I will attack America, I will nuke Guam just for starters. and our president did his job and said, "You try it, we'll kick your butt all the way back to the Stone Age," and screamed at our president for making it clear to a lunatic tyrant that we are not going to back down. He had people up on Capitol Hill. This airheaded congresswoman came up and said, maybe we should consider giving them what they're asking for. Swift boot to the ass is what they're asking for. I'll agree to that. Crying shame, those poor people, decades of suffering because they couldn't finish the job in Korea. Decades of unbelievable suffering. Why? Because we backed out of the Korean War and left the country split in half. We saw what the Soviet bloc did to Germany and to Berlin. How they turned it into a totalitarian a shithole. And we were dumb enough to think they weren't going to do that to Korea, and they did it. South Korea is prosperous and thriving, but North Korea, well, you've seen the satellite photos. You can see the demarcation line between North and South Korea because South Korea is spangled with lights, and North Korea is just dark. Nothing there. I remember I saw a footage. There's this one, you see these channels, facts. They have Irish people try American candy or things like that. And I saw a couple of episodes of a show like that on YouTube, where they had people who had escaped from North Korea, and they introduced them to American barbecue. And my lord, just eyes nearly popped out of their heads when they saw the plates, And they were talking about what it was like living back in North Korea. Just horrible. They were lucky, the government would let them have on glorious dictator's birthday, they'd let everybody have some meat. And the woman who was talking, she held out her hand, about that much, and that was for the whole family. And generally, it was stuff from the only use they have for cows in that country is to pull a plow. They're so backwards, they're so run down that they can't, eating beef can be a death sentence because every cow has to be accounted for, and particularly case beef, it's from a cow that has literally worked itself to death. It's too old to pull a plow anymore, and the government comes in and butchers it, and then a little handful of meat to everybody in the community. And the government officials leave with most of the meat for themselves. And she said, it's like chewing leather. And these people are just rhapsodizing over the barbecue and over the sauces and all the different meats and stuff they tried. And they said they had nothing like it they'd ever tried before, and they loved it. And apparently that's one of the few things in our country that's, one of the things that's really loved abroad. They asked people, what is the thing you like most about America? And they said, oh, the barbecue. Yeah, meat. They also, Americans are, the people that are visiting, they're incredibly friendly. Americans are incredibly friendly, and It's a cultural difference. We tend to smile more than most Europeans do, and especially certain countries you know, being all hi, how are you, and all this other, it's the normal thing here, but in these other countries, you don't do that, and it's a little flabbergasting to foreign visitors, and just how friendly Americans behave. I'm like, thank you very much. Proud to be American. Hoo-ah. Proud to be a nice American. Ha-ha. I've got this thing on my computer, swag books, on the bar across the top of my browser. This little swag books icon keeps popping up, and I see swag books logos next to things on Google search, and I'm like, I have no idea what swag books is, or what it does, or what I'm supposed to do with it, or anything. And I'd say I'm afraid to ask, but I'm asking you now. What the hell? What is it? What the heck is a swag buck, and how do I use it? Apparently it says, shop at McAfee or Macy's or Kmart. You got a big list of stores that I can shop at and get, 1% cash back, 10% cash back, 6% cash back if you use the swag bucks. And one swag buck per, and I have no idea what to use the swag bucks. Well, according to this, I've got 148 swag bucks. What the goofy hoo-ha am I supposed to do with a swag buck? I guess you can use the swag bucks to buy stuff at a swag shop. But otherwise, I have no idea what to do with it. I apparently saw, swag books. Apparently, some late night web crawling session. I saw, it sounds like a great deal. What the heck? I'll put it on there. And now I have no idea what it does. Ow. That's frustrating, man. It's got to be frustrating. You use a computer and the harder you try to keep the crap, all these odd little add-ons and pop-ups and other things off. The sneakier and more dishonest they get about picking up articles. Really. Browsing. Why have I got this little talking monkey on the corner of my computer? Where did I pick that up? My God, vegan honey. I hate vegans. I hate them. I hate veganism. I hate vegetarianism. Vegetarianism is just veganism without the guts. And shut up about, oh, well, there's some people that have nutritional needs, you know. I'm sorry. That's like comparing a diabetic to somebody who goes around saying that anybody who eats sugar is going to burn in hell. Vegans do not become vegans because of their health. If you say healthy vegan, it's because they have, one, they're cheating, or two, they haven't been on the diet long. The whole point of being a vegan is not your health. It's moral sanctimony. Vegans are just better than normal people. I remember watching Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and one of the 7 evil exes was a guy who went off and became a vegan, studied at vegan college, and and they're sitting there and they're all sitting around the table trying to pretend to be friendly, and the guy punches out one of Scott Pilgrim's friends, and Scott tries to go across the table at him, and he starts emitting psychic waves that lift Scott Pilgrim up and throw him across the room. He says, why the heck would a vegan have psychic powers? And he says, and his girl goes, oh, don't you know, vegans are just better than people. The whole premise is that just being maintained vegan diet, he's gained, basically a Aryan. Scott Pilgrim him into drinking a coffee, actual dairy creamer in it. And, but anyway, no. I mean, people, health nuts are sanctimonious and smug enough as it is, but at least they have something backing them up. Health-wise, oh, you need to exercise more, you need to diet and exercise, jog, climb a mountain, swim across the river, you feel so much better if you lost all that weight, no frickin' duh. Yes. But, thank you for that marvelous insight, Dr. Kildare. Think you could maybe stop diagnosing my obesity long enough to pull the arrow out of my knee? But, no. No. It's about being smug. Like that South Park joke where Al Gore jumped in his car and drove off. It was the newest Tesla. It runs on smug. And the sad thing is that they don't deserve it. They do not deserve it. A vegan diet. The Whole Foods routine, it actually costs more innocent animal lives. Especially if they go all organic. Organic in particular. Because basically, primitive, going all organic means basically they have to use rather primitive techniques for removing the pests from their fields. They estimate something like a bag of rice, a single bag of cost the lives of a couple hundred field mice, something like that. Enjoy that brown rice, honey. Just remember, Fievel and Mickey both died for it. And think on this. If men ever stopped eating beef and drinking milk, that would spell the demise of an entire species. Yes, the cattle that we use, they have been selectively bred for tens of thousands of years. They have to be milked. Milk cows have to be milked. If they are not milked regularly, well, basically, it can kill them. Domestic cattle could not survive in the wild. Not the bulls, not the cows, not the calves. They would die. Neither could sheep. Neither could domestic chickens. Most of the poor enslaved food animals that have vegans all in an uproar and animal rights activists all Twitter would die out. Meat may be murder, but veganism is genocide. Rip that one out on your vegan friends sometime. I don't like vegans. Real story. Woman asked her granddaughter to tend to her skipped a groove in my brain here. Well, there's this one woman who was leaving on a trip for a week or so, and she asked another woman to take care of the bird feeders. Bird feeders was a hummingbird feeder, and she gave her the instructions. You have to mix up so much of this sugary syrup, with this food coloring, and you pour it in, with water, and then you pour it into the food. Gave her all the instructions and everything. After she left, she asked to do this. Bald. All that sugar, all that bad for the little birdies. And so she mixed up bird feed, hummingbird feed, except she used NutraSweet. And they came back a day later, and there were little dead birds all around the hummingbird feeder. All on the ground, all around the feeder. Because hummingbirds, they burn calories like mad. And then they need that nectar. They need that nectar to survive. Just to keep their engine running. And these poor little birds came in there and they drank the NutraSweet, and it was sweet. So they kept drinking it. And they drank it and they drank it, and their little bellies swelled up. And they got weak and sick, and they fell down on the ground and died. They starved to death. But this morally sanctimonious, smug eco warrior thought she knew better. There are countless stories of these horrible people who buy pets. And I'm sorry, I'm serious, man. Somebody should break their hands with a baton, because they take a dog, or even worse, a cat, and they feed it a vegan diet, and that will make a dog sickly, and it will outright kill a cat. There are thousands of people. It's happened over and over again. And what's more horrible, it's happened with human babies. They had a case. These granola crunchy idiot parents. They brought the new baby home, and instead of giving it milk or formula, they gave the poor little thing a vegan substitute. I forget whether they bought her or whether they whipped it up themselves. And the child died of malnutrition. They are in prison now, and I hope they stay there. You will have to pardon me if I hate vegans and vegetarians. I hate vegans, I hate vegetarians, I hate these advocates for organic farming. You will have to pardon me if I get pissed off at people who try to morally condemn me for the food I eat. The only person that has a say in what people should or should not eat is God Himself. And after Golgotha Calvary, the Apostle Paul, one of the things he said is, "What call not thou common?" And the apostles came together, and they decided that dietary laws could be set aside. Because their purpose was past. Yes, you hear about strange stories about a lioness that refuses to eat red meat. Yes, very, very nice, Riley King. There's a reason those things make the news. Because they are the exception to the rule. They are, to the nth degree. They are such rare anomalies that actually make, newsworthy. Lion eats steak doesn't make the front page. And there are animals. Lions, after they get a certain age, they get so old. They're in zoos and such. They the only thing they can eat is milk. That doesn't make that you do not make rules based on the far end of the bell curve. Yeah, speaking of that lioness that refused to eat red meat, what was her eventual fate? Bet you're not going to hear about that. Please don't get me started talking about meat, though, man. I'm hungry. And I've been crazy. I haven't fixed anything properly. I'm sort of short on ingredients at the moment, though. I'm out of milk. I'm out of bread. I'm out of sugar. I'm out of. Basically, my refrigerator is full of almost nothing but condiments right now. I could probably make some soup, I suppose. I just don't want to. The problem. I'm sitting here craving other things, That's all it's craving stuff. And it's been a while. I've been spending the last few days cobbling things together with my own cooking skills. And the results have been variable. Got no use for, I've got no use for it. I got no use for vegans or vegetarians. Got no use for people who try and make moral sanctimony out of the food I eat. I don't eat anything with a face. Well, give back the elf witch cookies, woman. Well, then I'll have all those giggle you. I don't eat anything with a face. I'll keep all the giggle pies to myself. Giggle pies are like a cookie with a smiling face on it. Smiley face cookie. Pastry, actually. Been a while since I've had one. Get away from my. Got these all idiots about food. Too much time to worry about it. It's too much time thinking about it. Oh, have peanuts and you can't have any children with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because my child has a peanut allergy. I forget what they are what they are claiming is the cause for so many peanut allergies. What the hell happened? I mean, up until when I was a child, people killed because somebody opened a jar of Jeff. Come on. Then there's the whole gluten-free thing. What the heck is a gluten? I bet all these people are going, I need something that's gluten-free. I bet they don't even know what gluten is. I don't know what it is. I don't care either. I don't care if a burger has gluten. I don't care if it has ketchup. The stupidity of it all. The stupidity of it all. You fat-free, cholesterol-free, gluten-free, sugar-free. You just described a 2x4, ma'am. In fact, I've mentioned before, they've come out, they've found out, removing all the fat from your diet is incredibly bad for your health. In fact, the real reason for, they found out that the lipid hypothesis about heart disease is the exact opposite of the reality. It's not high fat in your diet that causes heart disease. It's high carbs. The reason you get plaque buildup in your heart is the inflammation of the veins and arteries in your heart. And you get that inflammation because of, again, high carb diet. The plaque buildup is your body's response. It's basically your body using cholesterol to patch the holes. This is why after they clean out, after they remove a blockage, and after they put you on a low cholesterol diet, your risk for a heart attack goes up for a considerable period. Because by removing all that plaque, is basically they peeled off all the patches. I like that squirrel, round as a shape, yeah. I'm not even close to round. I'm more of a weeble, pear, melting lump of tallow shape. Lioness died at 9 years old of viral pneumonia. Yeah. I'm guessing it was a zoo animal. I'm wondering how they administered taurine to it. For some reason, AEP. This is the stupidest dang I ever heard of. AEP Ohio. That's my power company. They just announced AEP Ohio Alerts Program. If there is a power outage in your area, we will send you an email. Follow-up alerts will provide updates including estimated time of restoration. I suppose if you got, if you got a smartphone, fine. Okay, yeah, I can see that. On the face of it, that's just... we'll send you an email when the power's out. Oh, great. Yes, I'll pull it up on, I'll pull it up on my TV set. What the hell, Didn't think it all the way through. That rate's right up there with that billboard. Actual billboard. Illiterate? Call this toll-free number for a free brochure. Actually it actually existed. Actually existed. You stand there and look at it and you go, you like that alien on that one movie, I weep for the species. I think in my fan fictions, I think I'm due to some of the next chapters up are going to be like review chapters, so to speak. I'm not gonna have any just go back over the story, Great eloquent hunt. I'm not gonna do that. What I'm going to mean is that bits and pieces. Over the course of the stories, I've had a lot of odd storyline, bits of storyline that have sort of trailed off on their own, particular characters that I haven't looked back in on yet. It's basically the next couple of chapters are probably the next chapter on on several of my stories is going to be little vignettes, little look-ins on various things that have been going on. Meanwhile over here, that kind of thing. Catch up, find out what Pinkie Pie's been doing. Of course, that depends on me sitting down and doing some writing. Sort of. I'm suffering from a severe chocolate and junk food deficiency at the moment. Caffeine, chocolate, all natural preservatives. Okay, it is 8 o'clock. It's been 2 hours. I did say I was going to do a short run today, short show. Not much to be said, really. And my tank's kind of empty at the moment. Feeling under the weather. But I'll come back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have had a good rest, a belly full of good food, and just stuff. Oh, the stuff that's, how do I plan on integrating some of the canon in the shows? Well, uh, some of it will just be mentioned in passing, like, uh, a little bit about, I've had to go back and make changes in the earlier chapters. If you go back to the Great Alcorn Hunt, when they get off the train, where they're waiting at the train station for their family members. I had to change the description of Pinkie Pie's family, and I had to just change the description of Rainbow Dash's family. I don't know what I'm going to do when they finally get around to telling us whether Scootaloo has a family or not. I might incorporate the Apple family's, the story, the story of Bright Mac and Pear Butter. I was like, very bittersweet, surprisingly bittersweet. Because you realize at the end of it that Grandpa never saw his daughter again. He never saw his daughter again, and she never saw her father again. And that, that's a little bit of bittersweet tragedy right in the middle. Not to mention the fact that they died. Shortly after Apple Bloom was born. So there's going to be, there's going to be a certain bittersweetness to it. We've already mentioned that it's in the Great Alcorn Hunt in particular is Applejack silently vowing to herself that she is not going to let Granny Smith just wither away. They're basically looking for a cure for old age. I use that trope a lot. I mean, but let's face it, doggone. They live in a world where immortality is a reality. Or at least insane longevity. Considering that, think about this. Not only is our Celestian Luna at least well over 1,000 years old. Celestia thought nothing of waiting 1,000 years to try and rescue her sister. So you got to figure they knew from the outset they're going to be incredibly long lives at the very least. Grandparents show up at the Apple, Sweet Apple Acres at some point. I am biased in favor of you've read my stories. You can see I don't buy that whole death is just a natural, wonderful part of life. I don't buy that. As a Christian, I believe in hope beyond death. I believe that death is a tragedy that befell humanity. That God sent His Son to save us from sin and the death that it brought. I also believe that someday those that have died and passed on will return. With new bodies on a new heaven and a new earth. So yeah, I'm kind of pro immortality, you might guess. But even beyond that, I accept this. I accept some certain basic principles that you ask yourself the question: which is better, to harm or to heal? Is it or is it good to heal somebody who is sick or who is suffering pain? If it lies within our ability. And old age, my Lord, old age is nothing more than the increasing accumulation of sickness and illness. That's all it is. It's your body breaking down. We spend billions of dollars a year on people in extreme old age, just struggling to make their final years comfortable. If we could cure them of Alzheimer's and arthritis and all the other and all the other ailments that make up old age, I say yes, do it. Time will lay claim to its own eventually. There's no reason and there's no moral justification that we should suffer while we live. It is a moral virtue to alleviate suffering. And those that talk about, old age is a beautiful part of the cycle of life, have not, are either suffering from sour grapes. I'm old, I'm never going to be young again, so I might as well get used to it. Or they've never been old in the first place. I'm saying, it's a circle of life, shut up! And I personally believe that a lot of these people who have gone up in years, say, "Oh well, I'm ready when like doing the Dumbledore, I'm ready for the next great adventure. Check yourself. You sure you're just not tired? I'm sitting here. I am only 46, and I'm already suffering, shall we say, the early decline. And it hurts. Being old is a collection of pains. And most of these people who are, accepting their death, that's not acceptance, that's resignation. It's never going to get better. And they go like, better to pass on than to linger on forever. But if you gave them a pill and told them, you take this pill and you will be, you will be in a physical state you were at half your age. You will shave 10 years off, 20 years off, 50 years off. You think they, once they've taken that pill and were in the pink health again, they'd be so ready to chuck in the towel? Dumbledore, was all ready for the next great adventure, but he was also over 100 years old even before the events of the books had beaten the stuffing out of him. What was what fan art? I don't know. I do not know what you are referencing. I didn't, these pictures I'm running here are just desktops I've picked up over here, just piled up. They're not my art. Well, there's some of my art in this particular playlist, but most just images from around the web. But did you get an image that I drew that you're talking about? Because I was looking away and I may have missed it. Hey, we got 10 people in. Ta-ta, yay! Oh, the DMARC page? Yeah, it's a fan art of a work called Taylor Varga. It's a Taylor Varga is a fan fiction of the online story Worm. Worm is a serial novel written by Wildbow, if I remember the name correctly. It's basically about this young girl. Basically, she gains superpower. She gains the power to control bugs. And she decides to become a superhero. Except things go wrong on her first night out. She wins her first battle with a supervillain, but things go wrong after that, and she ends up as a supervillain herself. And the story, it's basically all downhill from there. Everything gets, you read the whole original story, it gets bleaker and bleaker and darker, and conspiracies surface, and horrible villains and monsters surface, and then they just, and they make worse, and it's just like they pass the Godzilla threshold every few chapters. The Godzilla threshold being basically the point in a story. The Godzilla threshold is a point in a story where unleashing Godzilla on the problem can't make it worse. And they pass that sucker going 100 miles an hour 10 times over. And everything keeps going worse and worse and worse, and they uncover this horrible awful cosmic secret that all superpowers are actually from these alien beings who are experimenting on the human race and who are going to destroy the Earth and scoop up all the superpower shards and basically chapters, millions are dying by because the alien monster that's been doing all this is flipped out. Anyway, and Taylor with her Taylor Hebert with her power to control bugs ends up having to save planet Earth and all the other parallel planet Earths connected to it from this psychotic cosmic monster. And she basically, and by this point, she's, and the whole story is, the further you read is more, she just basically destroys herself the whole way down, and it ends with her, her suffering brain damage, where she literally cannot understand language anymore, can't recognize faces, and one of the secret conspirators at the heart of all this gives her mercy kill by blowing her brains out. It's just a ray of sunshine there. It turns out she survives the bullet to the head, by the way, by a 1,000,000 to 1 chance, and she ends up as a powerless girl on a parallel Earth, trying to start her life over. And she it ends with her dwelling over her PTSD and just and the fact that her home and that her real home world is just devastated wasteland that the civilians, just because this alien monster flew back and forth and just destroyed entire cities until they finally defeated him. Anyway, the fan fiction that I'm reading, well, let's put it this way: write worm fan fiction generally, where things go a lot better, which is hard considering just how bleak no one is. And in this one, I don't know. You have to look it up. There's an old anime called Luna Varga. An old anime called Luna Varga about this girl who gets she basically becomes bonded to this gigantic Godzilla-like monster, which gives her all sorts of she can well, you'll have to look it up. Well, anyway, Taylor Varga is a fanfiction where some cosmic entity from that creature's universe, instead of getting the bug power, she gets the powers. Taylor Hebert gets the powers of Luna Varga. And it's hundreds of chapters long and hysterically funny and bat-poo insane at some points. And that drawing there, that picture I drew, is her what she considers her her base alter ego form. And that's her smallest form, is this dinosaur girl form. You'll have to look it up yourself. Look it up on fan fiction or on the sufficient velocity forums. Look up Taylor Varga. and the thread that the story is in has 360 pages, and the story has several hundred chapters here. He's been writing this since 2016, September of 2016, and there are, it used to be a number here. Ow, my leg! Ow! At least a couple hundred chapters, and it's still going strong. It just backs up what I've always been saying. Fan fiction, all fan fiction is, in some form or other, fic, as they call it. Stories written because the author wants to fix what they think was wrong with the story. Just about all of it. I don't think it's really necessary to read the original story, but if you have, it probably makes things a lot clearer. You get to compare between the two. But the original story is no short little quick read either. Here we go. There we go. Just boosting that page up. Legs hurt, feet hurt. Interesting thing. It was the stars that the Ku Klux Klan used to carry into their rallies. They used to carry the American flag. You can see photographs of back in the 50s and 60s marching by the hundreds with they didn't have a single rebel flag among them. Oh, this is interesting. Netflix's co-founder has a plan. Basically, it's a subscription service. Movie Pass. Pay $10 a month, go to all the movies you want. The plan is you pay $9.95 a month, and it lets customers get into one showing every day at any theater in the U.S. that accepts debit cards. Now, I'm baffled as to how they think they're going to make money that way, because with, with everybody paying you $10 a month and you paying $10 a head every time they go to the movie theater, basically you're counting on the idea that people will on average go once a month to, that everybody will go at most once a month to the movie theater. Jeez. Why did they end music in this easy listening section? I'll never understand these people. A race realist? I don't even know what that means. I just know what I've learned for years. It is not racism to say that the races are different, any more than it's sexism to say that men are different from women. Every heritage, every lineage, every lineage has strengths and weaknesses. Nobody's going to be hiring a lot of Asian people to play basketball, for example. That's a joke about how short they are, people. Stay with the program. I like this. On Monday, August 21st, the United States will experience a total eclipse of the sun. Here are some helpful tips for the best eclipse viewing experience. 1. The people of Tennessee may have the best view, but will also be the first to be sacrificed. 2. Animals may behave strangely. If your dog speaks like a man, heed its dire warnings. 3. Don't trust the squirrel with the child's face. It speaks only lies. 4. When your double arrives, resist the inclination to fight it. It may be stronger than you. Chances are it will disappear after the eclipse. Be careful it doesn't switch places. It will be a few decades before you get the chance to come back. 5. If you stare into the void and it blinks first, you win. But the prize is insanity. 6. Werewolves are not only impossible to kill during an eclipse, they become super werewolves. 7. Whatever you do, don't buy any weird plants. We don't want a repeat of last time. 8. Apophis the moon serpent may try to eat you. Let him. 9. Remember, no matter how salty your GBF is, the moon still throws the best shade. And 10. If once upon a time you were falling in love, but now you're only falling apart, there's nothing you can do. This is a different kind of eclipse. Thank you. That is all. Oh yeah, yeah. That is basically in the Nyx verse. Celestia. Actually, it was Celestia during her 1,000-year solo run. She set up an eclipse. Have I ever heard of the comedian Gallagher? Mr. Sledge-O-Matic and Watermelons? Yeah, I've heard him. I've watched a few of it. I've watched a couple of his stage performances, not live, but on TV. uh, been a few years. I haven't heard from Gallagher lately, have we? Now, why do you ask if I've heard of the comedian Gallagher, Mr. Cartoon Critic? Because I have. Ouch. I subscribe to this thing. It's called Forgotten Books. Free book of the day. Wednesday, let's see. Free book of the day. They let you download an entire free book. And I haven't seen one yet with the effort of downloading. It's just crap that nobody reads. Everybody quit reading it. Oh, today's is Ecclesiastical Laws and Rules of Evidence, with special reference to the jurisprudence of the Methodist Episcopal Church. Ooh, sounds like a page-turner. Yeah, you can get other good books, like good fiction books like Frankenstein. They got Frankenstein. They got Dracula. But you have to pay extra for a subscription service in order to download the books that you want, rather than the ones they pick. I think I wrote Applejack leaving the farm a little too easily. In both the Great Alicorn Hunt and in the Audience, Celestia basically makes the farm royalty and just gives her a bunch to do the work, and Jack she ends up moving to Camelot, and in another, she ends in the Great Alicorn Hunt. She hops aboard her Zeppelin and flies off, and in both, I think she considering how she loves the farm, and how much her character is, with the roots that she has there, that she let go a little easy. I think she's a little overdue to feel for it. Of course, when she was younger, she ran off to the big city to try her luck with the oranges, so it's not unfeasible to get a little midlife crisis just at an early age and decide to take another whack at big city living. Okay, here. Okay, it is 2:42. It is nearly 9 o'clock, and I think I'm going to call it a night, folks. We'll see you all tomorrow. Hopefully. Hopefully I'll see a few more of you. Get a little bit more done. Hopefully I'll be feeling better. Dang leg. And we'll go from there. Thank you all for tuning in. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Round about this time. Just be looking for a post on Facebook. Seasons. Good night. God bless. All the help